Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Inner Edge podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable, high-performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore. Hello there, welcome to today's episode, which is a little bit about positive thinking, or maybe not so much about positive thinking. So the title is Why Positive Thinking is Limited, very limited, and maybe what to do about it. So it was inspired by a hike that I did early Saturday morning in the beautiful valley of Glendalough, which is very close to me in Wicklow. Beautiful area of the world, beautiful area of Ireland, the Garden County of Ireland. And one of my favorite things is to go for a hike early in the morning, often when the sun is rising. And I just find it very restful. I find it very rejuvenating. But also in general, I find that when I'm walking, particularly by myself and I'm silent, it's almost meditative for me. And my mind usually gets very relaxed, even extra relaxed. And that was no exception today. And what's always interesting to me is that as my mind gets relaxed, and this is not just unique for me, I know it's true for other people, is that ideas start to come through, just pop, like popcorn popping, pop into my mind with no effort. Solutions, creative ideas, ways to grow the business, things for my life, things for people around me, really constructive ideas that weren't apparent to me before. And I just want to talk a little bit about the effortlessness and the naturalness of that approach versus forcing yourself to think positive. And thinking positive, you could say, is obviously better perhaps than thinking negative, but I think it's misunderstood. People just say, listen, just think positive and let's not look at the negative, which I don't actually think is healthy because that's denial. So if you've got an underlying relaxed mind, healthy mind, and you think positive and it's effortless, like as you're walking on that hike, if you're with me, that's pretty constructive once it's not forced. But once you start to force yourself to think positive, which a lot of people I think do, they see almost like you can't think negative or anything that's negative. It's bad to do that. That causes strain. And if it's causing strain, it actually becomes quite effortful and wears you out. And I think there's something that I would call the illusion of positive thinking, which is that when you kind of get into this forced, contrived effort around, I have to think positive, it does require a lot of work. And in my experience, it creates its own version of mental fatigue, strain. And I remember first when I was recovering from depression many years ago that, I said, okay, I need to start thinking positive. And certainly my thinking positive was better than thinking terrible things. But over time, it was also exhausting because I was monitoring myself hugely. Everything I was thinking, you can't think positive. And that not only was exhausting, then over time, I started to miss things that were important in my life. But as I discovered over the years, then there's this other mode. So to me, I could have a negative thinking mode, which isn't great. Then I've got positive thinking mode, maybe which is a little bit better perhaps, but it's also effortful. And then there's what I would call healthy, relaxed mode. And out of that healthy, relaxed mode, like, your mind gets to a relaxed state. For example, let me explain when I was hiking. It's more natural, it's effortless, it's an effortless state of mind. And that kind of healthy, relaxed mode generates positive feelings, positive thoughts automatically with no effort. So it's not analyzing, my mind isn't worrying, and there's no inner interference. I've just kind of moved it into a kind of a neutral gear. Now, mini plug, I do go deeper into this in my second audio in my audio club, which is linked somewhere at the bottom of this podcast show notes. If you're listening to this on Monday, the 31st of March, today's the last day to get a discount of €50 on it. Honestly, the price of this whole 12 months is nothing even compared to one of these audios. So just check it out. In the show notes before it's gone. It'll be for sale afterwards, but just not at the discounted level. Anyway, so as regards the limitations of positive thinking, which might surprise you, and certainly I remember talking to people who got a surprise when they thought, hang on, I thought you were about positive thinking. I think there's something much, much better than just positive thinking. Because if you're focused on positive thinking in the way I'm talking about, it blocks important insights. And it can also prevent you from addressing real issues in your life. So, for example, you could have a problem in your business, be it a situation or indeed a person. And maybe you think, oh, okay, I'm just going to think positive about this. But if you completely deny reality, denial doesn't help. So it's important to check in on with, well, hang on, let me just look at this first, even though it might be perceived to be negative. Let me look at this and embrace what reality is. I'll often say to clients, listen, you've got 2 feet, maybe put 49% weight on one foot and 51% on the other. The 49% is reality. 51% is maybe more leaning into optimism for the future. But you do need a close relationship with reality. And just because you think positive, very often, if you force that positivity, you very often deny what could be a gem of an insight to transform a situation in your work or indeed your personal life. And certainly the problem with denial often is that fear can prevent you from confronting something important. So instead of denying it and putting your head in the sand and hoping it'll go away, and I'll think positive as well, that's probably not a realistic approach to dealing with business and our life. It's not the ideal way to get the best out of it. So what I'm sharing today, I guess, is just a little point of consideration around this relaxed, healthy mode. Now, what are some practical ways of doing that? First of all, I think it's hugely powerful to notice the noise inside you, but don't wrestle with it. So this is where you learn and train yourself to observe your thinking rather than trying to control it. So the mistake I made many years ago was I need to try and control my inner voice so that it was more positive. No, I realized actually that is exhausting and causes its own stress. So observe your thinking. This is the mode of what I would call the inner CEO. You're observing in a non-judgmental way, which actually you let the thoughts be there. It relaxes your approach. So you don't try and replace negative thoughts with positive ones. You just watch the thoughts like you're watching clouds in the sky float on by. And in that way, the act of noticing is much more powerful than the act of correcting. Hugely, hugely powerful. As a lifelong inner habit, this is one of the most powerful. The other thing is that I would say allow your mind to settle. So I've often used the metaphor of the snow globe, use it in my book, The Inner CEO. So when we stop shaking the mind with analysis and thinking, if we just allow our mind to settle, clarity emerges by itself with no effort. So ultimately, what I realized was stillness inside isn't a technique. It's actually a return to a natural innate setting. And that is quite profound. So you don't need to clear your mind. What you really need to do is just stop shaking it, stop cluttering it. And anything that helps your mind to settle, whether it's deep breathing or putting your feet on the ground, or even just realizing that your mind is busy, is incredibly powerful. Another way to kind of consider moving into this relaxed, healthy mode and out of the forced positive thinking or denial is maybe to question the urgency of your thoughts. I mean, many thoughts feel real and they feel urgent, but usually they're not. And when you get overwhelmed, a good technique, a good approach is to pause, take a breath, and ask yourself this question: is this thought helpful, genuinely, or is it just habitual, particularly if it's causing stress? The reality is that most thoughts don't need a response. They don't need you to take action on them. What they need is space. They just need that space for you to get perspective and look at it. And then the final point I'm going to share with you today is something I think that's real and quite profound, is to trust the natural intelligence underneath your thinking. So just as the body knows how to heal, if we get a cut on your hand, we don't have to concentrate to heal that cut. Your body knows how to heal. There's an intelligence inside it. And in my experience, the mind also can do the same thing. It knows how to reset itself if, and this is the key bit, if we can get out of the way by overthinking, by overanalyzing, by forcing ourselves to go in a certain way. So this kind of relaxed, healthy mode of your mind, this kind of healthy functioning, is innate. It's built into you. So you don't need to force it in. It only needs to be uncovered. Because the reality is when your mind gets quiet, your inner wisdom, your inner ability to get ideas, solutions, insights gets louder. And to close out for today, food for thought. A quiet mind outperforms a positive one every single time. The trick is for us to understand that a quiet mind is available to us. It's actually easier to get to than we realize. And maybe from today, you might consider for yourself today and this week, maybe making time to deliberately quieten your mind, to experiment with that mode and connect with that inner, relaxed, healthy mode, which we all have. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Your mind might be going right now, yeah, but how do I get there? And you know what? The ideal thing there is even to ignore that, observe it, and just let it go. A relaxed mind is really only a few thoughts away. That's it for this week. And do check out the show notes for that link to the audio club. Deep dive, ready to go. Ciao for now.